All right, team, welcome to this week's installment of our weekly study session for preparing for the Ohio Division of Real Estate's salesperson exam. My name is Michael Rapaski, and I am the team leader and CEO of Keller Williams Greater Metropolitan. I'm very excited to have all of you joining us this evening as we are going to be diving in to some practice problems and revisiting some concepts for you all in preparation for your real estate exam. So as we get underway here, we're recording these sessions. They'll be sent out to everybody as follow-up. So, if you need to revisit anything, you like the way that we broke down a concept, you want to see some of the problems worked again, you'll have the opportunity to. What I'd like to do to start is make sure that everyone has a breakdown of the exam questions with respect to what sections are going to be the most valuable for you on the exam. And so if you can access your chat box right now, you will see all of the different sections for the national exam, and then in the next box, all the different sections for the state exam. So one important part in preparing for your real estate exam is preparing for the right things. And so in this case, not all sections on the exam are created equal. These question distributions have, it's been a while since they've been updated, but I should say that they haven't changed. And so with respect to that, if you're practicing the correct categories, you'll put yourself in the position to know the most about the most relevant sections on the exam. For the national section, you want to focus on contracts, the practice of real estate, and principles of agency. Those three sections are going to make up 35 of the exam questions. So almost 50% of your questions are going to come from that. And then you'll move quickly into financing, and then property ownership valuation and transfer of title are going to be the balance there. So when you think about it, land use might be really complex for you. You might struggle with land use, and that's okay. Spending a large portion of your time focused on getting land use right is maybe not the best thing to do. If you master contracts, you can miss every question in land use and still pass the exam, because it's important to remember that you are not without support when you get your real estate license. When you are part of our brokerage and you have the opportunity to be a part of our productivity coaching program, you're going to get the support from your coach, the support from our staff, and the support from our broker. When there's a land use problem that it comes up in real life, right, you'll have a whole universe to tap into. And for the sake of this exam, it's really important to pass. Now, it's a little bit thinner in the options with respect to your state licensing exam. The nice thing is there's only 36 questions on that exam. And so you will then, and they're broken up into three sections, but license, rules, and law is important. That's going to be your primary one. Brokerage relationships, and then licensing requirements. I always say, hey, for licensing requirements, go ahead and master that one. They're not too complex. They're not too, hard. And so it should be 6 easy questions for you to 6 easy questions for you to get 6 points on the exam. With respect to that, all right, guys, I'm having a little bit of trouble logging in with our CompuCram here. So I am getting somebody from our team to figure out why we are not able to log in right now. So you're gonna have to listen to me talk for a few more minutes. While we wait to get that sorted, would like to know if anyone is in a position to, if you've scheduled your exam, when you are testing, and if there is, or and if you're retaking, hey, listen, there's the number of people that have made a great living in a career of real estate. It took them a couple times to pass. There's nothing to be ashamed of there. That's why you're here. No, it's why we want to help you. So, all right, we got a 10:23. This little Saturday exam action. Go, pass, go out that night, celebrate. Anyone else scheduled? Anyone else just waiting for the go ahead from PSI? For those of you who have or are waiting or are in a position that you are, when you're in a position that you're waiting to get the green light, make sure that you, Danielle would have sent out some communications with some updates on that process, some updates on what is going on their end. There was some mix up with the national PSI and state PSI. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, you don't know, you haven't seen anything from Danielle, feel free. I'll put my information in the chat. You can reach out to me and say, hey, what was that thing you were talking about? We can make sure we get you on the right track. And of course, if you're ever curious, you can always call PSI and ask if they have you on file as somebody eligible to test. And you can usually, get a couple days ahead there. All right. Thank you guys for bearing with me and for sharing. For those of you who know when you're testing. Kevin, good luck tomorrow, my friend. That is awesome. We're going to get you some good support here going into the home stretch. We are looking at, let's see, today we will do general principles of agency, as well as we'll hit financing. Those 2 sections for today. That's going to be, between those two, almost 25% of your exam questions are going to come through these 2 sections. So think about that. With contracts, practice real estate, general principles of agency, and financing, 4 sections, you get over 50% of your questions. So mastery there will go a long, long way. All right, guys. So if this is your first time joining us, or if it's been a while since you've joined us, please, I'm going to read the question and then just need you to drop an A, B, C, or D in the chat box. We will go with whatever the majority of folks want to go with. And if everybody gets it right, great. We'll chat a little bit about it. If everybody gets it wrong, we'll probably dig in and really understand what's going on with respect to this question. Stacy, I will repost at the end all of the different sections. I think you may have joined us a few minutes late and I dropped it in the chat initially. We'll get to that at the end so everybody can capture it. So we're going to go ahead and dive right in here. Question number 1, what is the best example of a general agent? A property manager, B, universal power of attorney, C, a real estate agent, or D, power of attorney given specifically to transfer an automobile. All right, a lot of A's are in our chat box, and that is correct. A universal agent is one that may do anything for the principal, while a general agent may do anything in a specific area like property management, right? So property managers are licensed property managers can do a lot of different things on behalf of keeping that property operational, behalf of keeping that property safe, on behalf of the property owner. A real estate agent's a special agent, and they only have the authority to do one thing for the principal, which is help them buy, sell, or invest in real estate. Universal agency is when somebody has power of attorney and they're able to go do anything and everything on behalf of that person for whatever reason that person has elected to give them that. So you, when you are licensed, will all be special agents. All right, question number 2, an agency relationship should be created by which method? A, implication, B, ratification, C, estoppel, or D, express written agreement? All right, you guys are all over this one. It is D, express written agreement. Agency agreements have to be in writing. And this is really important, guys, when you're working with buyers. So in a listing arrangement, right, you have to have a contract signed for that person for you to legally be able to list and sell their home. Buyers, sometimes we take this a little bit, it's a little bit looser, and we don't want to like force the issue with like, hey, let's get into an agency relationship, but it's actually a required document at your first substantial interaction. You're going to want to get a consumer guide to agency and agency relationship definition out there to your clients. All right, question number 3. Seller Sally, listed with broker Larry, sells her home to buyer Bill for $200,000. Bill is represented by his own buyer's agent. An earnest money check is attached to the contract. After both parties have fully executed the contract, Larry deposits the check into his escrow account per contract instructions. 2 days later, Larry receives notice that the check is returned for insufficient funds. What should Larry do first? A, contact Bill's agent immediately to get a new check. B, contact Sally immediately to notify her of the bad check. C, contact Bill immediately to get the check covered. Or D, cover the check out of his own funds, then contact Bill to repay him. All right, we're seeing some A's and B's here. A's and B's all over the place. So we're not sure whether we should contact Bill's agent immediately or contact Sally, our seller, immediately. So, all right, seeing a few more B's than A's. And because I know that's the right answer, we're going to keep our score high here, guys. Okay, so your obligation to your client around communication is going to be a really important one. So wherever, whenever you can, whatever's going on in a real estate transaction, let your clients know. And you'll never, with your client, letting them know things is never a bad thing. You want to over communicate to them. And then the second thing you're going to do is contact Bill's agent and say, hey man, the check was returned for insufficient funds. And then Bill's agent's going to contact Bill, and Bill's agent is responsible for getting that earnest money check, getting his client to deliver sufficient funds, right? But for you, your primary and fiduciary and communication responsibility is to your client. All right, which is the best example of a special agent? All right, we should knock this one out of the park. A, universal power attorney. B, property manager. C, real estate licensee. Or D, limited agent. All right, you guys got that one. Great job. All right, an agency relationship is created through a listing contract, can be terminated by the A, agent executing a buyer agency contract, B, seller or broker's death, C, agent discarding the agency disclosure forms, or D, buyer principal renouncing the agency relationship. All right, guys, the B's have it, and that is correct. Listing agreements can be terminated through the death of the seller or the broker, because a listing contract is between the broker and the seller, not the agent and the seller, not the buyer and the broker. Doesn't involve anything around buyer agency or anything like that. All right, a listing agent works for the seller. A buyer's agent works for the buyer's party. The buyer, excuse me. Which responsibility does a licensee have to the other agent's party? All right, so what is your obligation to the client on the other side? Is it A, keep the other party's confidential information from his own principal? B, no responsibility is owed to another party as agent's duties are only owed to their principals. C, must treat all parties to the transaction honestly and fairly. Or D, owes the first duty of allegiance to the other party. You guys, again, all over this one. No one's going to be missing agency relationship stuff. We treat everybody honestly and fairly. It is in the code of ethics, the canon of ethics, and the culture of this company. We are it's very important, but you don't owe them anything else that you do owe your client. Question number 7, a seller instructs a sales agent not to disclose a hidden defect behind a paneled wall. The sales agent is under the duty to A, follow the commands of their principal, B, turn the seller into the appropriate real estate licensing authorities, C, not follow the instructions of the principal in this matter and to possibly void the listing, or D, file a complaint with HUD. All right. All of the C's getting into the chat box, and that's going to be correct. You are obligated only to follow lawful instructions. Being instructed to not disclose something is not okay, and you need to tell your client that, and you need to let them know that they either need to disclose or you cannot work with them. Real estate agent is best referred to as what type of agent? Special, universal, limited, or general? All right. Same question a third time, a different way. What type of agent is a real estate agent? Are they A, special, B, universal, C, limited, or D, general? It is special. Universal agents have power of attorney. General agents are like property managers and such. No such thing as a limited agent. A listing broker tells their buyer client that the seller is anxious to sell because they are delinquent in their mortgage payments and do not want the property to go into foreclosure. Such a disclosure is A, required because the broker is also the agent of the buyer, B, acceptable if it results in an offer and quick sale of the property, C, unacceptable because of the fiduciary duty owed to the seller, or D, only permitted if the mortgage lender authorized the disclosure. All right, everyone feels pretty strongly about C, and that is correct. The fact that the property owner is delinquent is information considered confidential under your fiduciary duty as an agent, and it cannot be revealed without consent. So this is an important one because you're going to see this on the exam, or there's going to be a version of this question out there in the universe where the seller directs them to disclose this information, and then it is okay. Then it is okay. All right, the best description of a principal is A, a customer, B, an owner of real estate, C, one who employs a broker to represent his interest in matters of real estate, or D, a landlord. All right, a lot of C's in the chat. That is correct. An agent represents the principal and therefore owes fiduciary duty to said principal. All right, guys, great job. 10 for 10 here, kicking off the evening. We worked through that one pretty quick. Let's pop back to the dashboard and let's hit financing, right? Financing. All right, question number 1 in financing. Interim financing can be used during construction of a building, followed by a long-term financing is called what? A conventional loan, B, a construction loan, C, a bridge loan, or D, an FHA mortgage. All right, we've got some B's in the chat. That is correct. Construction is financed by a construction loan. Conventional loans are just your standard loan, right? I went to my bank and I got a conventional mortgage. And let's see, FHA loans are a type of loan insured by the government, and a bridge loan is something that you're going to use to purchase a new home without putting a buy to sell contingency in there with your current home, leveraging the equity in your existing property. Candidly, you don't see them very much. All right, Respa regulations would not apply to A, first lien residential mortgages, B, loans for 1 to 4 family homes, C, the second subordinate lien for home equity loans, or D, a transaction financed solely by a purchase money mortgage taken by the seller. Where does Respa not apply? Got an A, a B, a C, and a D, it looks like. So I see 2 Ds. So let's go with that. I feel like this is fairly poorly worded. So Respa regulations would not apply to anything that is not federally related or regulated mortgage loans. And loans that somebody intends to sell on a secondary market. So the reason I say this is a poorly worded question is that I believe what they're describing here is seller financing in the form of a purchase money mortgage from the seller. And that is that since the seller is providing the mortgage, they are not capable of selling that mortgage on a secondary market, which means Respa would not apply. So just watch out for that. If it's a conventional loan, an FHA loan, a VA loan, if it's any loan, other than seller financing or other than, or other than something that is going to be not sold on the secondary market, that's when Respa does not apply. All right, a buyer agrees to purchase real property by making monthly payments to the seller and then receiving a deed at a later point in time. Such an agreement is known as A, a certificate of sale, B, a construction loan, C, a straight term mortgage, or D, land installment contract. A's and D's, A's and D's, seller financing, land installment contract. There's going to be a few different things here, but the important thing to remember is that with those, the deed transfers at a later point in time, most likely at the end of the contract, right? So they're going to make, the payments every single month for 20 years, and then they're going to get the deed versus in a purchase money mortgage, the deed comes on day 1. In a foreclosure sale, the debtor A is freed from future responsibility regarding the liens. B may not bid on the property. C may be a successful bidder and be awarded the title of the property. Or D advertises to secure exposure for the sale. What is going on with the debtor? All right, we have C's in the chat box, and that is correct. Anyone may bid on a sheriff sale foreclosure auction. If the property does not bring enough sale proceeds to cover the liens, then the debtor is not freed from future responsibility and is liable on the note under a deficiency judgment. Which loan is not guaranteed or insured by a government agency? An amortized loan, a VA loan, a FHA loan, or a conventional loan? Which one is not guaranteed or insured by a government agency? All right, we are all over the A's. It is the conventional loan. FHA loans are insured by the federal government. VA loans are guaranteed by the federal government. An amortized mortgage includes regular periodic payments to pay off debt. A conventional loan is not guaranteed or insured by the government. So the thing to remember here, excuse me, VA and FHA guaranteed and insured by the federal government, or guaranteed from a VA standpoint, insured from an FHA standpoint. VA loans and FHA loans and conventional loans are all amortized loans, right? Amortized just means that we're making the same payment every month over a period of time. We've amortized it over the life of the loan. Conventional loans are not guaranteed or insured by a government agency. That's why there are foreclosures. That's why banks lose money when they, have risky lenders. The government does not come in and say, hey, Mike stopped paying his mortgage, and so we will insure or guarantee those monies to the bank. FHA and VA, they will. A GI loan is the same as a blank loan. A VA loan, B conventional loan, C co-insured loan, or D FHA loan. All right, you guys are all over that. GI loan, VA loan, same deal. All right. The term debt refers to A, the transfer of real property by a private owner to a public agency. B, the amounts of money owed on a note or promise to pay. C, an instrument used in many states in place of a mortgage. Or D, the movement of money out of savings accounts into higher yield investments. Your debt is money owed. Money owed. All right. A real estate firm has an in-house title company, mortgage broker, and home inspection company under one business entity. This is allowable only if A, control business arrangements are clearly disclosed to the consumer and the consumer is aware that other providers are available. B, fees are exchanged among the affiliate companies for referrals. C, there is no duty to disclose this relationship to the consumer. Or D, the consumer uses the in-house lender. You guys slam an A's into the chat, and that is correct. Control business arrangements, or as they are often called, ABAs, affiliate business arrangements, are legal as long as they are disclosed to the consumer. So when you are licensed and selling one of the many houses that you will all sell as a part of our beloved company, you will have the opportunity at some point to associate with title companies or mortgage companies and have whether they're our in-house version or another, and then you will need to disclose that via an ABA for your clients. The term debt service refers to A, the amount of money owed on a note or promise to pay, B, the amount of money paid in regular intervals to reduce the balance owed on a debt, C, instrument used in many states in place of a mortgage, D, movement of money out of a savings account into a high yield investment. What, pray tell, is debt service? B is going to be the right answer. And that's just the amount of money paid in regular intervals. So, your mortgage payment is in effect your debt service, right? You pay that every month and it reduces the principal, and that's your debt service. The type of lender with the greatest percentage of assets invested in real estate mortgages is A, life insurance company, B, commercial bank, C, mutual savings bank, or D, a savings and loan. Who's got the greatest percentage of assets invested in residential mortgages? Right. In A's, B's, D's, 1C. I think I'm seeing more B's than anything. So let's go with that for you guys. And it's going to be the savings and loan. The premise of the savings and loan is to take money in and make loans to depositors. So the money out, so to speak, you would expect to be highest for an S&L or a savings and loan. It's a weird question, so don't beat yourself up too much on that one. Strong showing here on financing. So we've got a few other options here for our next most valuable on the national exam. So I'm going to drop those back into the chat box so everyone can see. Whoops, copied the wrong one. That is state. I'll get these back in the chat box. So let's see. Do we still have? Let's see if Nick was still, or Kevin. Kevin, you're testing tomorrow, right? Which one of these, property ownership, valuation, or transfer of title? Which one do you want to do next, since you're in the hot seat tomorrow? All right, well, if you were in a position to answer, oh, there you go, transfer of title. I was just about to say that's the one I would pick for you. It is likely the next most complex one for us to consider. So transfer a title, here we go. David asks his lawyer for a certificate of title on a property he is about to buy. What is David asking his attorney to do? A, give David a document that states David can now make improvements to the property. B, issue a certificate so David knows exactly how much is still owed on the mortgage. The bank can no longer contest the amount owed. C, review an abstract of title and give an opinion to David as to who the owner of the property is. Or D, issue a certificate so David knows he is entitled to a deed on confirmation of sale by a court in a foreclosure action. Questions are a mouthful. Okay, so we're mostly B's and C's here, and a D. So, well, now we got 2 B's, 2 D's, and 2 C's. So whoever puts something in the chat box next, that's what we're going with. We need a tiebreaker here, guys. What do we think David is asking his attorney to do. All right, the B's have it. It's going to be C. So again, a little bit crummy wording on the question because you're inclined to say, oh, he says he's asking for a certificate that's got to have certificate in there, but really what this is this is the title search, or a certificate of title as they've defined it here is an opinion letter given by an attorney after examining an abstract of title stating the attorney's opinion of who in particular owns the property. Certificates are issued during judicial sales, but in terms of what is happening here, he's reviewing an abstract of the title and saying, yes, this person owns it free and clear. You have a clear and marketable title that can be transferred. In our area, title companies are a thing. People aren't contracting their lawyer to do this. You're working with a title company to do it, and that's how they do it. Now, in other more rural parts, you're seeing this, this happens through title lawyers. So just know, that's what a title company does to make sure that the person that you're buying the property from has the right to sell it. All right, Bob's lawyer examines an abstract of title and gives him his opinion on title. That the title is vested in William. This opinion is called A, chain of title, B, a certificate of sale, C, a certificate of no defense, or D, a certificate of title. All right, these are filling up the chat box, and that's just the same question said in the reverse, right? So that's the definition, and that's the word. A title search can be conducted by A, the loan processor, B, anyone, C, a buyer's real estate agent looking after a client's interest, or D, an attorney at law. Who can perform a title search, conduct a title search? All right, we're a little all over the place here. B's, D's, and a C. We have more B's than anything else. And anyone is correct. Anyone can go to the public record and search title. If the questions are asked to who prepares evidence of a marketable title, then an attorney at law would be the right answer. So, yes, anybody can perform a title search because public records are public records. That being said, being able to provide an opinion letter, a certificate of title on a clear and marketable title, that has to be a lawyer. Otherwise, you'd be guilty of practicing unauthorized practice of law, UPL, as they call it. A buyer insists that a seller sign a document that states there are no unrecorded liens against the property and the seller is the rightful and lawful owner. The buyer is asking the seller to sign A, an agency disclosure statement, B, a property disclosure statement, C, affidavit of title, or D, hypothecation clause. All right, seeing a lot of C's, and that's going to be right. Agency disclosure statement says, hey, I'm operating as your agent, and this guy or gal is operating as the other person's agent. So everybody knows who's representing who. A property disclosure statement is going to be what you're going to have a seller client that you're listing for fill out, where they disclose everything that they know is wrong with their property. And then an affidavit of title is what is described here, where they're saying, yes, I own this property free and clear, and there are no liens on it. Pledging your property as a security for repayment to the debt that you collect with the purchase money mortgage is the hypothecation clause. Transfer of title, some wordy questions. All right, last question here. A mortgage company typically requires title insurance to cover the A, mortgagee and mortgagor, B, seller, C, mortgagee, or D, mortgagor. A mortgage company typically requires title insurance to cover who? We got C's and D's in the chat box, but it looks like the D's are going to win it. And unfortunately, the title insurance is meant to protect the mortgage company. Now, I know that this is a little confusing, but this is going to be a really important one for your exam. When you buy a home or anyone buys a home and there's a mortgage involved, the person buying the property is the mortgagor. They are giving the mortgage technically to the bank, and the bank is the mortgagee receiving the mortgage, which is the title, which is the title to the property is being leveraged in the mortgage for the money to make the purchase. So, that purchase money mortgage, everything happens at the same time, but it's yours at time of title transfer that you are then mortgaging to the bank, and the bank is receiving your title and mortgage. So this will show up in financing questions, in real estate calculations, and it's confusing because we always use the language that you're going to go get a mortgage or get a mortgage from a bank, and you're actually giving a mortgage. Banks receive. So the bank would want title insurance to protect themselves, is what I'm saying. Okay, great job, guys. Some pretty gummy ones in there. So don't beat yourself up. Again, we're down into the nitty gritty here. There's 6 questions on that. We can go ahead and let's do property ownership next. And that's another 6 questions there. And then that'll probably take us through the end of the evening here. 10 questions here. All right. A commercial tenant offers a bank his showcase furniture, paintings, and other items that he has placed in the rental property. In favor of the bank, the tenant would execute A, chattel mortgage, B, a mortgage, C, a leasehold estate, or D, an easement. All right, everyone feels pretty confident it's a chattel mortgage, and that is right. All of those things described are chattel. The addition of soil to a property by a gradual operation of natural causes is termed A, accretion, B, erosion, C, alluvium, or D, ad valerium. You guys are all over this with the A's. That's right. The opposite of accretion is erosion. Erosion is the wearing away. Alluvium, I'm saying that right, is another name for the silt suspended in the water and carried downstream. Ad valerium has nothing to do with soil or silt. It is Latin for according to value and is a way to estimate property taxes. Question number 3. John dies and leaves the township 10 acres to use as it wishes, but not on Sunday. If the land is used for any purpose on Sunday, ownership pass on to his son Bill. What describes the interest of the township and Bill, respectively? A, township has an estate for years, Bill has periodic tenancy. B, township has a fee simple determinable estate, Bill has a remainder interest. C, the township has a fee simple defeasible estate, and Bill has a reversionary interest, or D, the township has a fee simple absolute estate and Bill has a life estate. I am seeing C's in the chat box, and that is so close. A fee simple conditional estate upon the occurrence of the limiting condition may or may not be terminated at the option of the grantor. A fee simple determinable estate is automatically terminated and immediately reverts to the grantor or his heirs upon the occurrence of the triggering or special event. A fee simple absolute estate has no conditions. State for years and periodic tenancies are examples of leasehold estates. Okay, so the crux of this question is simply that ownership passes automatically to his son. The defeasibility can be activated. The determinable estate and the remainder interest are appropriate here because if the land is used for any purpose on Sunday, ownership passes. That question may read differently to say ownership can pass or could pass, and that's where C would have been the correct answer. How many acres? How many acres, team, are in a government rectangular survey that consists of the southwest quarter of the northeast quarter of the northwest quarter of section 13 of Blendon Township? A, 20 acres, B, 10 acres, C, 80 acres, or D, 40 acres. All right, B's in the chat, and the B's have it. So here's what you need to know. Everybody needs to know that there are 43,560 square feet in an acre. You will need to know it for some reason or another on the test. Every real estate exam in the history of the state of Ohio has asked in some way, shape, or form how many square feet are in an acre. It is 43,560. Great. The other thing that you need to know is that a section on the government rectangular survey is 640 acres. When you get a question like this, as you will be guaranteed to get a question like this on the exam, you simply divide by each denominator one after the other. So 640 divided by 4, because that is the northwest quarter. Then I need the northeast quarter of the northwest quarter. So I take 160 and I divide it by 4 again. So now I'm in the northeast quarter of the northwest quarter, and I want to know the southwest quarter of that. So I divide by 4, you guessed it, again. 10 is the answer. So you can't do that unless you know that a section is 640 acres. So just know that. Which type of description is inadequate for describing property in a deed? A, a lot number, B, a meets and bounds description, C, a rectangular survey description, or D, a house number? All right, seeing a sufficient number of D's, and that is correct. The address is not part of the legal description. One of these other components are necessary. ABC Remodeling Incorporated buys a new warehouse for its trucks and SS Building Materials. How will it take title? A, tenancy in severalty, B, joint tenancy, C, tenancy in common, or D, tenancy by the entireties. How are they taking title? Hmm. We got A's, C's, D's. Got more A's than D's. Since ABC Remodeling Incorporated is the sole owner of the property, there's no co-ownership, which is tenancy in severality. Tenancy by entireties is how married couples take title in some states. Tenancy in common is co-ownership without survivorship rights. Joint tenancy is co-ownership with survivorship, with the right of survivorship. Unfortunately, there's just no easy way. I wish I haven't come up with an acronym or like a way, a pneumatic device to remember this. Grid it out. You're going to get a couple questions about it. You can get them. You get ahead a little bit. If you don't, just make sure you know contracts really well. All right, a legal description of a property based on the lines of longitude and latitude, townships, and sections is described as A, meets and bounds, B, lot and block, C, recorded plat of a subdivision, or D, government rectangular survey. We got some people for meets and bounds and some for recorded plat of subdivision. Nope. And one in for government rectangular survey. I got 3 A's, 2 C's, and a D, so we'll go with A, but let's figure out what these each are. So government rectangular survey is the correct one because that is how townships are drawn. So when you see townships, and really the trigger here is sections. So those sections, 640 acres, that's the government rectangular survey. The recorded plat of a subdivision and lot and block methods are actually the same, and they're used in residential subdivisions. And so that's going to be all, think about all the subdivisions, right? They're not laid out rectangularly or against lines of longitude and latitude. That'd be really hard to make cool subdivisions. They could be all willy-nilly, right? Meets and bounds is going to be based on points, could be natural or otherwise, where hey, from the cliff, a 45-degree angle for 700 feet, right, until at, whatever the next feature is that you're gonna talk about. So yes, in this case, it is the government rectangular survey. Sheree and Lila coming through with the correct answer. Congratulations, guys. All right, question number 8. Bringing it home here. A lien filed for the sole purpose of preventing a transfer of property pending an outcome of litigation is called A, judgment lien, B, a tax lien, C, a mechanics lien, or D, lis pendens. All right, we feel pretty strongly about judgment lien, and it's lis pendens. All right, Amara had that one right. It's the recording notice stating that a lawsuit is pending and may affect title to the defendant's property. A tax lien is placed on a property for the payment of taxes. A mechanics lien is filed for payment for materials and labor. And a judgment lien is filed to secure payment of a confirmed debt. So lis pendens is going to be there for the sole purpose of preventing the transfer of property. A grantor conveyed a vacant 1-acre tract of land to a grantee. The grantee receives A, 5,280 square feet, B, 43,650 square feet, C, 43,560 square feet. D, 640 square feet. Laura, are you saying go over the last question again? Or were you, oh, you're saying, yeah, hopefully nobody gets this one wrong after I was banging the drum about just needing to know it. You may get a question just like this. You may get a question just like this, and so you'll have it. Yeah, maybe next week we'll start with this one again because it feels like, you know, there's probably some opportunity for all of us. Which type of legal description would a new residential subdeveloper most likely use? A, meets and bounds. B, government rectangular survey. C, lot and block. Or D, sections and townships. So here, B and D are the same thing. So they both can't be right. And we know lot and block is used in the residential subdevelopments. So that's what they would use here. All right, guys, great job overall. Definitely going to revisit this one next week. Feels like we could build some confidence there. Appreciate you guys being here tonight. Appreciate all of you and your contribution. I'm going to throw one more time in the chat the breakdown of the exam questions. Guys, hopefully you're studying on your own and you are taking advantage of, we're now recording these and posting them to our Keller Williams Greater Metropolitan training page on YouTube. So go there and check that out. Of course, also, you know, as you get licensed, be sure to check out the videos for training as well. We'll certainly direct you there. I am going to put my contact information in the chat box one more time. If you have any questions about your exam or anything like that, you can reach out to me. I'll get you in touch with Danielle. If you're already in touch with Danielle, terrific. She knows the ins and outs of the whole process. And if you ever have any questions about your exam or what we do here at Keller Williams Greater Metropolitan, what resources are available for you here, please don't hesitate to ask. It's 7 o'clock on the dot, guys. We'll look forward to seeing you here next week at the same time. For those of you testing in the next 7 days, good luck. Win, lose, or draw, make sure you let Danielle and I know how you did. We will either celebrate with you or commiserate with you and get you right back on a reschedule, right back in the saddle so you can get out there. And remember, you're not here to pass real estate exams. It's merely a step along the way to you building your real estate business and having a great career in real estate. So keep that in mind. Don't stress too much. Let's go win the week, guys. Thank you so much and have a wonderful evening.